and it's 60 years.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Good morning, afternoon, evening to everybody. It seems strange talking to a room without seeing faces, but I'm sure you're all still there listening to me. I hope so. Well, listen, Monica and Lucy looked at the overview of IH World. I'd like um, to look at where it all started and how Cordoba has, from day one, continued to innovate and build on its experience. And we were going to do that looking at these four different areas: the city, the school, the students, and the teacher. Just get a feel of um, where everything started and where it is now. So let's go back to 1953. And in 1953, Cordoba, with a population of 180,000, was part of Franco Spain. Here he is in April 1953. Now, a few months later, in November 53, John and Brita Haycraft, our founders, arrived at this train station on a cold morning in November, and their first impressions were of white houses shrouded in mist. They thought the town seemed surprisingly modern, and enchanted both of them. They went on to say the small town and the old town, with their hundreds of narrow, twisting little streets, whitewashed houses, and balconies, were crowded with flowers. How can you not dislike that? Often these flowers were part of the competition for example, for the most beautiful patio, one of many festivities held in May in Cordoba, which culminated in the May Fair, which actually starts this evening here in Cordoba. So if anybody fancies popping over. Cordoba in '53 also had a large middle class. In fact, every other middle class adult was either a lawyer or a doctor. However, the sort of bumbling economic policies allowed for a strong black market in and around the old town. And these are photos, as you can see, taken from John's original book. Now, the old town has the 8th century mosque cathedral at its heart. So that's Cordoba very briefly in '53. How does that contrast well with today? Well, the old part of town is now a World Heritage Site. Also, Cordoba is a candidate for European City of Culture back in 2016. Back in 2016, for 2016, sorry, jumping the gun. The Patios Festival, for example, in which the public can enter for free a small gate into a narrow street to find oneself in a large sunlit patio. These are words taken from John Haycraft himself. Has just been named a World Intangible Cultural Heritage Site as well. The city has expanded to the north, and the population now of over 320,000 enjoys all the mod cons of a modern European city. The fact that it's also a central node of communication with the high-speed train means that cities like Malaga, Seville, and Madrid are only a few minutes away. So that's the city. Let's have a look at the school. So let's go back again. Back in 1953, when John and Brita arrived, they rented a dark back room in Osseo Street, and John went about advertising their English classes, which used modern methods, in a town which, well, really had never seen a language school before. When the students eventually arrived, they'd have to walk through a small doorway in a wooden frame, cross the interior patio surrounded by blue clay flower pots hanging from the white walls, and into a classroom that also doubled as a bedroom with a curtain drawn across one end of the room. Now, the school was decorated with a few posters of the UK that John and Rita were able to carry with them. And believe it or not, it can get quite cold in Cordoba in the winter, and the students would often tuck their legs under the rectangular table with a thick tablecloth that reached to the floor to enjoy the under the table warmth of the brasero heater, as you can see in this picture. Now, the school developed quickly, and by December, they had 60 students. Both John and Brita used the term that Sean did earlier in referring to IH Cordoba presently, and that was that John and Brita both felt that they were pioneering. It's an interesting contrast there. So much so, could we say that possibly, I don't know, much of what we know of IH today was bashed out back then? For example, the IH student U for, I don't know. We also say that maybe the IH experience started here. I think we can. Brita's Reading Club, for example, coupled with the social program, made pupils glad that they could put their English to some kind of use outside the classroom. Within the class, the students using books and the latest publications were used. The latest equipment was also installed. It's the latest version. So, how does that compared to nowadays? Well, in 2010, Brita came to visit the new version of the of IH Cordoba, which opened that year, and is called IH Cordoba Sierra. She walked through the stainless steel glass doors of the main entrance, accompanied by Claudio, who you can see in the photo, who's the son of Eulogio, the person who bought the school from Brita and John when they both moved back to London. She walked into a purpose-built premises with air conditioning, heating, Wi-Fi, broadband internet connection in all rooms, 4 receptionists, webmasters, cleaners, computer technician, director, DOS, teens coordinator, young learners coordinator, a team of 18 dedicated students, a course abroad department, a library, etc., etc. Big changes. So between the two schools, basically there are now over 3,000 students studying English, French, German and Spanish in 4 different buildings. The rooms are equipped with phonemic charts, the frame map of the 156 IH schools around the world, IWBs, magnetic whiteboards, wall-mounted speakers, projectors, Apple TV to connect the school's iPad for the class and admin use for the teacher. And the class book is projected on the board for all the students to see. So let's have a look at the students. In 1955, this was the breakdown of some of the students. As you can see, the majority were young single girls. The other 32.7% were made up of lawyers, doctors, agriculturalists. There were waiters, government officials, all men. And for many in those days, as John has mentioned, English was a modern Santa Maria, which might carry them into a new and exciting world. Well, nowadays, things haven't changed too much, but we have expanded in different areas. The 2 schools now cater for very young learners. There are teens, there are adults, and between 60 and 70% are under 18. Students come for different reasons from different backgrounds. The children come to help them with their English and bilingual schools. The teens are looking also to get a Cambridge certificate maybe and help them understand what they read and watch on the internet. And the already highly qualified adults need English mainly for work, either to keep their job or to find one. As right now, English is seen as that Santa Maria that might take them off to abroad. So let's move on to the all-important teacher. Well, in 1953, finding a teacher was often by word of mouth. There was no formal training as such, no official qualifications, just some friendly advice, a pat on the back, and a trusted copy of Eckersley's useful book. Now, teachers would experiment, they would talk to each other, and would learn from one another quickly. They continue to do that. But today, I think postgraduates have their CELTA course based on the IH certificate originally written by John Haycraft, and are transferred to Cordoba through the wonderful IH World Transfer System after having worked for at least 2 years in one of the other 156 IH schools around the world. The teachers then go on to take the free IH certificate, the IH Young Learners and Teen Certificate, which Kylie was telling us about earlier. And then they go on to do induction and get together with the almost 40 other teachers in the school. Now, the teacher does have more admin to do, but this is than, for example, in 53, but this is kept, they're kept informed by email using the school account, as well as tweets and Facebook we've been talking about. The emails are very often reminders of the weekly training and development sessions. We've got the annual IH Andalusia conference. There's the online conference like this one at the moment. The course books that teachers use have iPads, websites, CD-ROMs. The teacher may have even created a class wiki for the first certificate class, taken the exam in June, or shared a project the group made on their iPad. So, as you can see, well, over the last 60 years, we've continued to use our experience to carry on innovating into the future and hopefully connecting people as well. And I think that's me. I'm not sure how I'm doing for time. Sean will tell me if I've gone over. First of all, let me apologise for reading, but I didn't think I was going to get through that in 10 minutes.
Arguably you didn't, but we did give you a couple of minutes because we were all enjoying your photos. So well done, Paul. and thank you for that little bit of